The Disneyland Limited, now leaving for a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Hey gang, welcome to another exciting adventure of the Grand Circle Tour podcast. I'll be your captain today, Captain Stan Solo, and I am here with two of my co-hosts and a very special guest that if you are part of the Disney community, I'm sure you've heard about. We'll get to her in a bit, but first let me start off with my two co-hosts. Ladies first. Caroline, how are you today? And waltz up.
Hey Stan, I'm excited to be here, and my waltz up is I got back not too long ago from my Disney cruise on the Magic, and it was my favorite itinerary ever, and I will tell you more about it another time, but I had the best time ever.
And that was a 7-night cruise, I believe.
It was.
Was it the Halloween at the High Seas? Or
it was. I got on and it was Halloween, and then partway into my cruise, it became Christmas. So
that'd be so magical. I love that. That is great.
It was.
Also joining us today, we have my good buddy, Jason. Jason, how are you? And waltz up.
I am fantastic, Stan, and aloha to all our passengers. My waltz up is this morning I bought the brand new Mary Poppins Return soundtrack on iTunes. And I'll say...
We're recording this morning. Did you go out this morning or did you...
No, iTunes. I just bought it on my phone.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Have you listened to it yet?
I've only had a chance to listen to it once all the way through.
Excellent. And
I'm going to save it for our Mary Poppins episode. I will just say in one word, it is perfect.
It's not supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
It is docious-alias-pisticfragicalirupus.
There you go. That's what I wanted to hear.
It perfectly captures the essence of Mary Poppins. All passengers should go out and buy this album right now.
There you go. Now, let's get on to our very special guest. I know that many of you have seen and heard her before. If not, you've seen her on Facebook. I'm sure of it. We have the one and only Kimberley Bouchard. Now, I want to tell you something that you may not know about Kimberley. She had dinner once upon a time with an astronaut at Epcot. Kimberley, how are you? And tell us about that.
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much. Actually, that astronaut became a very, very dear friend, a 2-time shuttle astronaut. So actually, the space program and Disney are very, very close to my heart. And we were at the Saturn V Pavilion at Kennedy Space Center. There was a silent auction that said a day at Disney with an astronaut. Well, I didn't care if we lived 2,000 miles away. I told my husband we're bidding on that, won the bid, met him at Walt Disney World, and within a few hours became very fast friends, and we see each other regularly. We chat with each other, and his story called A Friendship Forged is actually in the second book of mine, because there's a lot of things that happened. We did a VIP thing at Disney World, which is, I should say, Walt Disney World, which was so incredible. And I really wish now I would have known to do more things, because I was just thinking certain attractions I should go on. And of course you get backseat, passes pretty much to that. But oh my gosh, just had an absolute grand time.
And if you have the second book, you already knew that. And if you don't, go out and get it. And you can read that story and many, many more. But before we get to the books, let's get to your past. Jason, you have a question?
I'd love to know how you started. Did you want to be a writer? How did all this begin for you?
Well, I actually had always written stories. Creative writing was my favorite subject in school. I was a teacher. I was an English teacher and all that. But what happened is, our family experienced for the very first time a river dance troupe at Epcot at the American Gardens Theater. Our kids were taken by it. We ended up signing up for Irish dancing. Had no idea they'd be good at it. And our whole life path changed. That was one of the things that Disney affected our lives with, and many other things, too many to list here, of course. And I thought, gosh, if we're getting affected by this and impacted in such a positive way, there's got to be other stories out there. And I actually decided that it was time to share those stories with the world and try to inspire others, either to be an artist or to find hope or find healing or find love even. So that's how that all came together from that seed in 2001 that was planted in our hearts, and it absolutely changed our lives.
That is so cool. Caroline?
Kimberly, tell me, did you always want to be a writer?
You know what? Apparently so. My friends tell me, you've always told us you wanted to write a book. I can't remember that. But so I've got 5 books out. I'm working on the 6th and 7th and 8th right now. It's kind of bizarre how that all works. But, it's kind of like when after a while I was writing the first book, I don't know, it really just grew on me and snowballed, and I just fell in love with it. And the more I wrote, the greater the passion became, if that makes sense.
So I'm just going to rewind a little bit. And you are originally from Canada,
Yes.
like myself,
Yes.
a little bit west than I am. You grew up in Calgary, Alberta.
Actually, I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. Close.
Edmonton. Okay, sorry.
Calgary's lovely, but there's always that little rivalry. But yeah, I did. I did grow up in Edmonton, Alberta, but I was actually born in Saskatchewan, right between you and Alberta. So, yeah, I'm a prairie girl, and moved to the U.S. A little over 7 years ago. Had no idea I was going to be living in the U.S., but I call both countries my home now because I'm originally, of course, from Canada. That will always be my homeland, but my home is in the United States now. So very grateful to be here.
And you have your sister Dee, I know about, and any other siblings?
I do, actually. I have an older sister in British Columbia, and the baby of the family is a brother, and he actually lives in Banff, Alberta, Canada. So yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Jason?
What brought you to America?
Well, I will not name the company, but they scouted my husband, and it was a really tricky move for us because I just lost my dad not too long before that. Our daughter, when we finally moved, was a week away from turning 15. We had a 13, 11-year-old. We had to pack up. It was a very surreal experience, but I thought, I didn't want to be the one when we were 80 and 90 years old saying, gee, I wish I would have tried, or I wish we would have, So with that, I wanted my husband to have that opportunity. And then consequently, the rest of us followed suit, and the opportunities for particularly the children, well, myself included, but we're just phenomenal in so many ways, actually.
Caroline?
Oh, you all keep talking. I'm listening.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about your writing style. Like your books they're called the Positively Disney Heartwarming Stories series. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, it's the Positively Disney series, and it's heartwarming stories about Disney's impact, the effect on people's lives, and it's from guests and cast members, Disney artists, animators, Imagineers from all over the world, actually.
Yeah, and they're super interesting to read because it's my type of reading where it's like little short stories. So you could sit down and knock off a couple of stories in an evening, and I just love that writing style. And
thank you.
I'm assuming the way you do it is you interview the people, and then you kind of tell their story in your own words, sort of, or in their words combo.
So I didn't want to be a glorified editor whatsoever. So I do interview people. I listen to them tell me about their lives, their stories, their experiences, a variety of experiences. after I listen to the interview on a playback, then I start creating the storyline, the story titles, and get the essence of what I want to portray in the story. So it's actually quite a long process from just free writing. And I had to get used to that a little bit because my very first book was more just my story, not a Disney related book, but it was very different, because I'm dealing with, I don't know how many people I've interviewed. I think I've interviewed like 200 people now, and everybody has something to say. And sometimes they talk for an hour to two, and I have to listen to the interview and create, from everything I'm listening to. Yeah. And I've been told actually by so many people that it's such an easy book to read because they don't have to read one chapter, and not understand what's the previous chapter to go on. The one thing I do tell people, though, is it does take me quite a while to order the stories because there are a lot of stories that will really get to your core. And
Sure.
I don't want to heavy a story after another, so I kind of have it ebb and flow. So I'll have lighter stories in certain positions in the book. So I try to tell people to read, like, if they can, the first story one at a time, because you could end up kind of getting quite emotional in it. Like my mother didn't listen to me, and she was just popping all over the book. And
I hate to say it, but that's
you
how
too?
That's how I go, this is an interesting title. I'll read this one now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's probably everybody out there like that, because I know I would too, but I try to encourage people to read from the beginning to the end. But
okay, I'll read it like that from now on.
That's what I'm doing. I'm reading it right now on my Kindle, and it's really hard to put down.
It is. They are. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, do you have any particular stories that touched your heart?
You know what, Jason, I have to tell you something. So when I'm writing, I actually journey with the person whose story I'm writing. And I get quite emotional when I write because so many of those stories touch me. Even stories that I think are, for example, they're the executive producer of Walt Disney Imagineering for Disneyland. His stories in the book, and you think you're getting a type of story, and then you get some other stuff and it makes you cry. But it's, oh gosh, Jason, there are so many, but I have to say the stories that people have had adversities in their lives, but they kept pushing through to become the animator, to become the Imagineer, to become healthy again, all because of Disney is incredible. But I will tell you, just the rippling effect of one thing. I really do have to share this, and her story is actually in the second book, but it doesn't negate all the other stories that really do affect a lot of people. Particularly, there's a kidney recipient because of a Walt Disney World vacation, and his story is in there. It's very powerful. But there's one thing I have to share with you, because you never know what kind of a Disney experience, and it doesn't have to be only in the parks. So this is an example. She was about 22 years old in university, finishing her last year. She came home for Christmas, saw the movie Frozen. Her parents wanted to share the movie with her. And she started thinking about this. And she started, she knew she looked like Elsa, and her roommate actually looked like Anna. And by the end of that Christmas vacation, her roommate and her had decided that they were going to dress as Elsa and Anna and start visiting the terminally medically vulnerable children in the hospitals. To make a long story short, they had to go through an awful lot of things to get to where they are today. But they now have 17 chapters. So these are all college kids that volunteer to become princes, princesses, superheroes, visiting these children in institutions, residences, and that. They have 17 chapters. They have met, in the last couple of years, 20,000 children, you guys. 20,000 children have had their wish to meet a prince or princess come true because of this one college kid. Unbelievable. Her foundation is called A Moment of Magic Foundation. And actually 10% of all the proceeds of my books go to that foundation for those college kids and to be able to see these children. And it makes, I mean, it's a triple win because, I mean, the families, the parents, the children themselves, and then the college kids get a chance to give and to serve others.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, from that movie.
Yeah, exactly. And who said Frozen was no good for anything? There you go.
Oh,
Right there.
I love it. I'm sorry, but I love everything about it. I didn't have a 5-year-old child that made me watch it 50 times, though. So, you know.
It's a good movie. It's a good. I can't.
You know, I didn't think I was going to like it, and now I have it on Blu-ray.
There you go. I know. How can you not like it? I love it. The soundtrack, my gosh, is so powerful. Actually, for some reason, it sounds a little funny to say this, but the song Let It Go is the very first song I listen to when I'm on the treadmill. So I'm not too sure what that means exactly, but.
So your first book you wrote, when did that one come out?
You know what? I was just looking. So that came out in 2016. The second one came out 2017. The third one, the romance edition, came out February 1st, 2018. And the fourth one was just released last week.
Okay, so let's talk about the current book, the new
Yeah.
one that just came out last week.
Yeah.
Is this one very similar to the other ones? Is there something you got going on in there that's a theme, or what's...
Okay. Well, this is actually a compilation. So the first and second books are compilations, but something that's a little bit different in this book is I actually have several celebrities in here now, which is kind of interesting for me to see all these folks that want to be a part of the series. So I actually have the original Tinkerbell, Margaret Carey's in my book. An original Mouseketeer, Sherry Alberoni Van Meter, she's in my book. I have the fourth voice of our dear Mickey Mouse in the book as well. I have Mike Press and his lovely wife Patty, they're animators. Mike is the one who created Ariel in Little Mermaid and Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, and all that. He's very well known for all of that. And I have to tell you, because this was such a fun little anecdote that they had shared with me, but their first daughter was born and they named her Kimberley, and she was born with red hair. And Mike was working on Little Mermaid, so she was actually a production baby. You know, you see the credits roll and all that, yeah. So actually he decided, because of her red hair, gave him the idea that, hey, Ariel would look fantastic with red hair, and it looked really great with the teal fin and under the water. So yeah, so that's why Ariel is has got red hair.
I never heard that before.
I know. So I thought I'd share that with you. Some of the other folks in my book: Lee Cockrell, former executive vice president of operations for all of Walt Disney World; Jeffrey Shaver Moskowitz, the executive producer of Walt Disney Imagineering Disneyland. Gosh, I hope I'm not missing. Oh, so the world record holder for consecutive visits to Disneyland, Jeff Wrights. He's
hang on. How many visits has he had, plus counting, I'm guessing?
Oh, over 7 years. Actually, over 7 years. Okay. And I actually happened to share part of his, I think it was 2,470th day with him at Disneyland. I happened to take my husband Jacques, who Stan has met. He went to Disneyland for the very first time ever. Isn't that funny? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, I'm kind of trying to think of who else. I hate to miss somebody, you know, but I've got a really cool story from Michael J. Corey. And he's very plugged into the community there in Glendale and Burbank, has been to Julie Andrews' house for dinner and knows a lot of the who's who. He actually wrote my foreword. So I actually had somebody write my foreword this time. So that's a little bit different too.
That is so cool. This sounds like the book that every Disney fan is going to want to have. And that brings us to a little contest that we cooked up. We are going to have a giveaway of that very book where you get to hear the interviews with Margaret Carey and all the other celebrities that Kimberley just mentioned by simply liking and subscribing this episode by going to the Grand Circle Tour Magic Ticket Holders Facebook page. Like and share this episode. Did I say subscribe? Like and share this episode from the Magic Ticket Holders Grand Circle Tour Magic Ticket Holders Facebook page. And we are going to be drawing one person that does this, likes and shares this episode. And Kimberley will go live on Facebook and draw a name, and she herself will sign and mail to you your winning copy of the fourth book.
Yeah, the fourth book. I know.
The fourth book, the one we were just talking about. It just came out last week.
Can I add something that actually I shouldn't have forgotten this. This is kind of a big deal. So, you've heard of those books, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I think they sold about 350 million or something like that. And Jack Canfield was the co-author. He actually just endorsed my books. And so his quote is on the front, and he called me. Actually, I was floored. And he said, I just have to tell you because I was so thrilled about it and so grateful. And he said, this is an inspiring collection of heartfelt stories that will warm your heart and nurture your soul. So that's words out of Jack's mouth, and I put that on my book too. So that's a little bit different too this time.
So with endorsements like that, you might not be able to find this book in stores. Where can people find this book?
You know what? So it's available on Amazon, and you can order it at any bookstore. If you are a Barnes & Noble person, if you want to do your corner bookshop, that is also okay. You can order it in, no problem at all.
That is so cool.
I got it on the Kindle, and when I bought it, I looked at your other books. Your books have all 5-star ratings.
Yeah, they do. I'm very happy about that. I'm glad people like it. It's these are works from my heart, actually, and it's really nice that people have given me those ratings.
Excellent. We are going to take a quick short break, and we're going to tell you about another contest that we have going on. And when we come back, we're going to find out exactly what Kimberley has planned for the future.
We are giving away a brand new sold-out limited edition Splash Mountain POP vinyl. To enter our contest, just join our Grand Circle Tour Podcast Magic Ticket Holders Facebook page. Want more entries or already in the group? For every friend you add, you will get another chance to win. Share the post. Get even more chances to win. More great giveaways will be added throughout the month as well, so keep your eyes and Mickey ears open. And keep referring your Disney friends.
Thank you, Ken, and welcome back, everybody. With that, Kimberley, we talked a little bit about your past. We talked about what you have coming out kind of like this week, last week type of thing that's currently available. And I know you got something special planned for the future because you always do. And I want to hear about that in just a second. But before we do that, you do have a podcast of your own. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do, yes. So it's called the Positively Disney Phone-In Podcast, and I live stream on the Disney Facebook Positively Disney book page Monday nights at 5:30 Pacific, and that's 8:30 Eastern Time. And I actually set it up for people to phone in and share their stories or their experiences at Disney, because I can only write so fast, and there's so many unbelievable stories and journeys, Disney related. I wanted people to freely be able to share.
Exactly. And where can this is on Monday nights?
Monday nights, yes. They can see the live stream on the Positively Disney book on Facebook. And it is recorded as well. So if you miss it, you can always hear it. And I'm actually at the point, I've got to get it onto my YouTube channel. I've got to get it up on other platforms as well. It's just, my writing is sort of my main thing, and my podcast is secondary, but I am going to make the effort now because I'm in between two releases for books. I do have a little bit of time that I can get that up with the help of my techie sons that are going to be finishing their finals on Friday. So, thank God for kids.
Now I noticed that you advertise on different Facebook sites that you're going to be doing a live show coming up this week. Do me a favor, Kimberly. Next time when you're going around and you're posting that you're going to be doing live, go on the Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders Facebook page and advertise as well there, okay?
Oh, thank you. I just didn't want to impose, so thank you for that, Stan.
Yeah, no, every time you want to do a live show, that way I'll get the reminder for sure.
Okay, all right, sounds good. It's always have fun having you on.
That is great. Now let's hear a little bit. I know what you got planned for the future. Do you want to let our passengers know what you got planned for the future?
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. So the fifth Positively Disney book is the Star Wars edition, and I've started interviewing for that. That will be out in time for D23 in 2019 and before Star Wars Disneyland opens. And I'm so excited because there are so many Star Wars fans, and thanks to you, Stan, that put me on to a few of those folks as well. It's just phenomenal, and actually it's kind of exciting. I haven't gotten the yes yet, but they said to check back if they hadn't heard. But so Lucasfilm, the folks at Lucasfilm are helping me get in touch with Mr. Ron Howard, and
Wow.
pretty excited about that. I know like he directed Solo, of course, and he's such a down-to-earth person. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to interview him for the book. But I just really wanted to do a Star Wars edition because I know there's a lot of Disney Star Wars fans out there. And I just kind of thought I'm going to do something that is a little bit different than a Star Wars theme Comic-Con or whatever. So these are stories. I'm always about the story. I love the story. And so these are stories that will tell you about the lives of Disney fans, some of the people involved with the films as well, and different charities that are, I guess you could say, endorsed by Lucasfilm, based on like Star Wars charities and collectors and things like that. So yeah, I'm really excited. And I will be once that book is released. So on the front of the book, I actually have, oh my gosh, I've actually got the cover here. Just a second. I don't know. Oh, well, you guys can see it. I know they can't see it, after, but there is actually a lightsaber on there.
Yeah.
And one of the contests that I will be having when the book is released is people have to tell me who that lightsaber belonged to. Now, the color is different because I wanted it to go with the theme of the book, but the handle on the lightsaber belonged to
Hilt.
somebody special, and I'm not going to say anything more. But anyway, so that's what's coming up, and very excited about that. I'm actually going to have a chance to do some writing over Christmas, so I'm going to be staying home this year. Won't be going to Disney for the first time in so many years, but that's okay. I'll be back there sometime in 2019.
That is so cool. And are you going to D23 Expo this next year?
That is the plan, yes.
I'll see you there.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool. Now that's the book that I'm waiting for, is the Star Wars. And anybody
and a lot of other people. Yeah, I was actually at an event in California. Well, that was, I think, in October, and there was a fellow wearing a Lucasfilm hat, and his friend worker, when he found out about the fifth one coming out, he started freaking out. I hadn't quite seen anybody go over the moon like that, but he was pretty excited about it, and so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that book too.
So if you do get a chance to interview Ron Howard, let him know that you have a friend named Stan Solo. And that Solo is his second favorite Star Wars movie, and that makes it his second favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you know what? I love Solo. I love Solo because
I loved it too.
Had such a story, and I know there's a lot of Star Wars fans that didn't care for it, but I absolutely adored it. I thought it was great.
It was the movie I wanted since before Star Wars came out, because I read the comics before I saw the movie.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Jason.
Oh, I was going to say Solo's in my top 3 all-time Star Wars movies. But I wanted to ask you real quick. You said some people involved with Star Wars stories are going to be in your book. Any names you want to tease us with?
No.
Okay.
No, not giving it away. Nice try, Jason. No.
I know a couple, but I won't say anything.
Yeah, I know, exactly. anyways, no, it's good. And if you guys, honestly, like, this is why I do what I do. Like, if people want to reach out to me, most of my stories actually now come from people reaching out to me. So if you happen to know somebody or you want to pass a name along to me, by all means do so, and anybody that puts a person's name in front of me and they're in the book, I always give you a complimentary copy of the book. And I think, Stan, you know that as well. So, yeah. So if you are interested in Star Wars has changed your life in some major way, you would like to be part of Kimberley's book, and you might not know Kimberley, reach to me. Send me a message and I'll forward it to Kimberley, and you never know, you might end up in the book. It's as easy as that. Yeah, it is. A lot of people kind of wonder, they share their stories with me, and they ask me after if they're in the book, and because they don't have to be a famous person to be in the book. This is I want people from everywhere in the book, and it's the fact that they happen to be a celebrity is not important to me. The fact that they have a story is. So that's what I'm about, actually.
Have you ever interviewed somebody and just went, this isn't going in the book? Has that ever happened?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Actually, I wrote their story too. And only once.
Only once, okay.
And it will never happen again.
Oh, really?
You learn. Yeah.
Did they end up in the second book or the third book? Or?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Sometimes folks are not what they appear to be. There you go. And I always kind of look. I love people, and I always look at the kind of maybe through those rose-colored glasses. And sometimes I get burned, but that was only one time, so It's all good. Yeah.
And you learned from that experience, so.
Oh, I sure did. But actually, from that experience came two other fantastic stories that, believe it or not, wouldn't have even made it in the book. That's another story that I probably won't share live, but it's I've had to just one time, and that's not too bad for let's see, I've got about well over 100 stories written under my belt, so probably about 120 or so, I don't know now, but yeah, so I think that's not too bad.
Oh, that's great. So you kind of snuck in that you have a book number 7 and book number 8 going on in your pretty head.
Well,
can you or will you give us a hint as to what's coming up?
You know what? So, okay, just see. Book number. Okay, so the 6th book of the Disney book, I actually started interviewing for that because some people missed the 4th book. They didn't get to me in time. Let's just put it that way. And so they asked, is it too late? And I said, oh yeah, it's being released, but I can, take your interview for the 6th book. So I don't normally like to double up on that because I don't know if the 6th book will be out in time for Christmas. I don't know if I will have 2 Disney books out next year. I also have another series that I've got half a book written for that I've got to get out. So we'll see. But yeah, it's just, it's kind of wild when you get people finally getting back to you after months and months of waiting but it's too late. So, oh well.
Just as long as it's not a Harry Potter book, everything will be fine.
Oh yeah, no. No Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, but it's not anything to do that. But this series will continue on. I mean, I'll be talking to you when book 10 will be out, and hopefully I won't be 80 years old by the time that happens. But yeah, anyways.
Jason?
Any plans for a Marvel edition of the book?
Oh my gosh. I never thought about that, but maybe I will now. That, I'm open to different things. I don't want to be too let's see. I like the compilations of the stories because I can go for anything, when I hone into, say, like the romance edition, oh my gosh, I mean, it was like all romance, be it marriage, be it engagement, be it vow renewals, be it whatever, courting and stuff like that. And I mean, I love the whole idea of Disney romance, but honestly, by the time I finished that book, I'd had enough of Romance of Disney, but because I like to change it up, And the Star Wars will be very diverse because the people's stories that I have coming in now, very, very diverse stories. It's not all one theme like of love. And as I said, don't get me wrong, I love that book, but it was all of love, and I like a little change up. But the Marvel one, definitely I could see something like that coming about because I love those films too, very much so. And I wouldn't write anything that I didn't like. So, but Jason, that is definitely an idea for book. That'd be book
9.
Book 7.
Number 9.
Book 7 or 8. But that's okay. That'll be depending on how many I can get out a year, maybe a couple of years from now.
And with the recent announcements of the changes coming to Disneyland Paris, the Marvels are going to be and Disneyland California Adventure.
Right. Yeah.
Marvel's going to be getting heavier and heavier into the theme parks really soon.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be mind-boggling, really. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to manage all of the crowds because, even now the crowds are difficult. And I just, I just can't imagine how they're going to do all of that actually, but I guess they've got a plan. They know how to move people. That's one of their things, right?
Or at least we hope they have a plan.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But it was great having you on here today, and we're recording this is what episode? What adventure are we on, Jason?
This is 40.
Oh, cool.
My favorite number.
Good for you guys.
When I played sports, I was always number 40. So here we are on adventure number 40, and we're going to wrap this up really quick. I can see my co-pilot is waving me in. And before we do, let's go once around the table. If there's anyone has any last words. Jason, do you have?
Outside of the Positively Disney series, if you could write about anything Disney, what would it be?
Oh, wow. You know what? I would love to write about, I know a lot of people have written about Walt, but I'd love to write about Walt's family life. I would love to know him as the dad and the grandfather. That's what I would love to write about. Yeah.
That'd be fascinating for sure.
Yeah.
Caroline?
Kimberley, as a fellow artist and a writer, and I'm also an actor, I just think it's fantastic that you are able to do what you do, and kudos to you because I know how hard it is. So
thank you.
Good for you for living your dream.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know it's it can get tricky sometimes with 3 kids, 4 dogs, and a couple of birds, and my hubby. So I've got a very supportive family that I'm very grateful. They're very much in my court and will help me in whatever way they can. So thank you. I appreciate that, Caroline.
That is great. And Kimberley?
I just want to thank you guys so much for having me on. I was so excited to see that you guys were creating this lovely podcast with all of you together on it, because I'm just kind of by myself, out there. And I think it's just so fun that you guys have each other to interact with. And I love the whole idea that you are a passenger on the Grand Circle Tour. And I love everything about that, the Waltz Up. So way to go, you guys. And you are going to be surpassing me by far, I'm sure, in your number of podcasts, because I'm at 44 and I've been doing this for a couple of years. But I really enjoyed being here today. Thank you again.
It boggles my mind how you do all this basically on your own. Yes, I know you got your family and your birds helping you. Oh. But for the most part, you're a one-woman show. And you're doing the podcast, you're writing the books, you're doing the interviews.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. That is just,
thank you.
just unbelievable. And I just want to remind everybody to like and share this episode on our Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders Facebook page. Look at that. I got it all out. And you could be entered in to win a personalized autograph copy of Kimberley's newest book that just came out last week. And someone's going to win this thing. So it could be you. Thank you very much for listening, and take it away, Ken.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to send us a message, you can email us at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.